To support this podcast, go to positivesarcasm.com/donate. Any amount is appreciated. Once again, positivesarcasm.com/donate. Thank you and enjoy the program. Jay here, positivesarcasm.com, recorded here from the Spare Parts Studio alongside New Hampshire's beautiful seacoast for entertainment purposes only. Did I end the podcast? No, we're just beginning. Like, subscribe, share, donate. Positivesarcasm.com/donate. Any amounts appreciated for entertainment purposes only, of course. If you have questions, concerns, or comments, email me directly, positivesarcasm@outlook.com, or you can go right to my website, get the contact section of positivesarcasm.com. Another way of contacting me there. Or you can just simply slide into my DMs. Keep it respectful, people. Keep it respectful. Hit me up through Instagram at @positive_sarcasm. I have been paying attention to the market a little bit, but I'm always paying attention to the market a little bit. I'm just going to let you know, through all the fear, the tariffs, the instability, the tough talk in the White House, the war in Ukraine, the instability with that, the totalitarian regimes, the whatever the Warren Buffett's doing. I talk a little bit about financial responsibility. I just want to let you know I haven't sold anything. Nothing. I hold all the same positions, 12 to 15 positions, a small stock portfolio, and I haven't moved on it at all. This time I'm not fucking going anywhere. It's in there. It's invested. Two retirement accounts I've started in the last couple of years. Last year, I've started a brand new portfolio once again for the third time in a row. Hopefully this one's going to stick. So a new stock portfolio. A little bit of crypto here and there. Nothing really to brag about. But I haven't sold anything. All right, I'm not worried about that. And ultimately, if stuff goes that downhill to the point where a portfolio means nothing, there are far bigger things to be concerned about. So I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to be afraid or get, fear-mongered into selling everything and then running for my life and stockpiling toilet paper and cans of tuna fish. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it, and I would never encourage you to do that. If I see missiles flying over my head, all right, maybe I'll have a different opinion. But at this moment, we try to preach a little financial responsibility. That's the most important thing. That's the only way you're going to actually have any type of ability to invest. Is if you have that financial responsibility by making sure you get rid of your credit cards, by making sure you allocate enough assets so you can invest, by not having credit card payments or car payments for that matter. There's plenty of cars out there that are inexpensive, that'll get you to and fro, that are actually not bad with a decent pair of rims and an add-on entertainment Bluetooth system. That's not a difficult task at all. The idea of having no debts, that's what I've talked about in the past 2 years, the things I've been able to eliminate. Credit card payments, eliminated. Cell phone payments, dropped down to $20. Insurance payments, eliminated. And added on a gym membership. A nice one for that matter, because it can afford it, because daddy can afford it. Added on a gym membership. Added on a second vehicle again. That type of stuff. Added on a new retirement account. Created a brand new portfolio. So these are little things that I was able to do. This is what we preach on here. We don't preach fear. There's no fear here. Not on this. It's not much I'm really afraid of at this point. There is the worries of life, but the worries and fears are not. These are minor concerns. Fear is just you're scared. You're scared of what might happen. I'm not scared of anything right now. Although I did get a phone call from a friend of mine yesterday that pretty much just drained me emotionally. But I will handle that separately. We'll deal with that later. But as far as what happened with the market and all the the instability and things supposedly crashing the market, it's so easy to go on YouTube and make a clickbait title that says the crash has begun. They say that 57,000 times. And even if it was true, what are you going to do? Sell all your assets after you've lost 50% of them? Or are you going to try to buy in a little bit more? You have to think about that. Listen, if you have a 401k that you automatically reinvest into every single week and the market crashes, if the market crashed 50%, okay, fine. You know what you're doing? You're now reinvesting into that portfolio at its lowest point. And then when it goes back up 20%, 30%, you've now just made 20, 30% on top of that, and you've now increased your value. When you buy at the bottom as well as buying at the top, it averages out. So just buy. Just buy. So that's it. There's so many. When you look at the whole thing, when you look at that whole S&P 500 thing, it just keeps going up. And then those big crashes that pretty much cause people to live outside of their cars, those look like little tiny blips. When you take the whole thing from the stock market started to where it is now, it's to little tiny blips. All right. And there's not going to be a balanced budget anytime soon. Inflation is still high and mighty, even though there's, 3 dozen homes by New Hampshire's beautiful seacoast that cost over $700,000, between $700,000 and $1.5 million, and none of them have sold yet. They're still for sale. They're still expensive. Things are still expensive. So, in the meantime, unless the housing market goes the way of the car market, continue on as planned. Continue on as planned. Don't. You can believe whatever you want to believe, but just don't believe fear. That's never going to help you. It's never going to help you move on with your life. Okay? Just ultimately take care of your body, keep an eye on your bank account, quit doom scrolling on Instagram, and make sure that you make time of the day for yourself and the people around you that are important. And make sure that when it comes time for the whole financial market to crash, that you don't owe anybody anything. No credit card debt, no car payments, no insurance payments that you're going to miss, no expensive cell phone bills. Mine's $20 a month. No mortgage that you can't afford, no job that you can't afford to lose and find another one with no problems. These little things. Make yourself valuable to the point where you can enjoy your life to the degree where you're not worrying about what's going on Instagram every 10 seconds. I hope that's a good little starter to this episode. Sorry, I was a little exhausted this morning. It was I didn't sleep all that great. I am doing considerably better, and my back has been feeling great ever since I've been using that inversion table. But sometimes you wake up when you're not supposed to, and you can't get back to sleep for some reason. So even with the 5-hour energies that I pop before every episode that I record, with the 4-brain focus, sometimes the energy is not always there, but we're going to give it the best. We're going to try to dress our best, slick our hair back, and go right to work. And whatever comes of it, comes of it. I mean, last week I was at the peak of my insanity. I was waving a gun around for reading the 10 Commandments. Yeah, my mother got mad at me, but what else is new? Typical Jew shit. And remember that don't blame the Jews for everything, okay? We've only done a few things wrong. We killed Jesus, but fucking that was hundreds of years ago. Let's get over that. But ultimately, we're going to do some silly stuff on this podcast. Sometimes it's going to be a little shocking, but ultimately, we're just goofing around. We're being silly bitches over here, and we have some decent content. We meaning me and my multiple personalities. So come on, let's just have a little fun. Speaking of having a little fun, or fun yuns for that matter, I did follow this article about this whole lawsuit against Lyft for this fat hoe that apparently says she claims that the driver denied her for being too big. And it's one thing if a chick is like a solid 200. I mean, I'd be like, listen, she can fit in the back of a Ford Focus, all right? But this chick is not 200. She's about maybe 300, 400, 500 pounds. She's chunk, and she doesn't wear it well. She wears all of it. This is insanity that she's suing Lyft for this, but everybody's got a lawyer. But there is a news article about it. I do want to get through it. So this is to give you the context of what actually took place, at least according to what the news is reporting. So Lyft has responded after a Detroit woman filed a lawsuit against the rideshare company saying that a driver refused her service because she was too big to fit into his car. A spokesperson for the company said they can't comment on pending litigation, obviously, but released the following statement to Local 4. Lyft unequivocally condemns all forms of discrimination, and we believe in a community where everyone is treated with equal respect and mutual kindness. Our community guidelines and terms of service explicitly prohibit harassment or discrimination. This is not about, first of all, nothing about harassment here, and there's no discrimination here. We're talking about logistics, all right? How do you fit a 40-pound cantaloupe into a 5-pound bag of rice? I'm just throwing that out there as just a random things that I find tasty to eat. The fact is you just can't do it. This is not a square peg in a round hole. This is the planet fitting into. This is not, in his opinion, according to his shock absorbers, all right, in his back seat and his gas mileage, this ginormous tuna fish could not fit in the back of his car. So he said, fuck this shit. And I guess he got fired, but you know what? Getting fired from Lyft is not the end of the world. All right, let's move on with the article. This comes after Detroit woman, I'm not saying her first name, Blanding, said she was denied a ride from Lyft due to her weight, prompting her to file a lawsuit. Well, I mean, what, 40% of the United States is currently technically obese. Blanding captured the incident on video and posted it to her social media, which has been shared thousands of times. Except for her blood sugar has not been shared thousands of times. According to the video, Blanding paid Lyft for a ride from her residence to a party at her cousin's house. Was it a pizza party? About 10 to 15 minutes later, a Lyft driver arrived in a Mercedes-Benz sedan. Blanding walked towards the Lyft driver's vehicle, and the Lyft driver locked his doors and started to drive away. She asked the driver what he was doing, and the driver told her she was too big to get into his car. Under the law, quote, under the law, refusing someone transportation due to their weight is no different than refusing someone transportation based on their race or religion, says attorney John Marco. Discrimination of any kind should never be tolerated in our society. I don't believe that is necessarily true. We're talking about the physical logistics. Let's just say this, for example. Let's just say it was not a Mercedes-Benz sedan. Let's just say it wasn't even a Ford Fiesta ST or a Hyundai Accent, which weighs all of 78 pounds and runs on hamster wheels. Let's say it was a rickshaw. Let's say it was a rickshaw. And Mr. Rickshaw comes riding up on it, and all of a sudden, Big Punisher says, hey, I need a ride to the theater where I'm performing tonight. And the rickshaw driver says, I can't do it. Is that discrimination? Or is that like actual logistics? Is that like just not physically possible for a rickshaw driver to take all 400 of you and get you to the San Jose Coliseum? Or is it possible? Let's say it wasn't even a Lyft driver. Let's say it wasn't even a rickshaw driver. Let's say it was one of them bird scooters or one of those electrical bikes that I drove in Fort Lauderdale that you literally could pedal. You just, you swipe your card and then you can pedal, and then it's a little bit of battery power, get you to the ocean. Let's say it was one of them. Let's say the bike broke. Let's say the bird ran out of juice because your ass was too big, or that it just physically wasn't possible for this transportation device to actually get you from point A to point B because you weigh as much as a planet. Do you sue bird scooters? Do you sue the electrical bike company for your ability to stay away from the Hershey's chocolate? Or nothing? Or nothing? Or is it just not physically possible for you to deny the cookies and cream at Crumble Cookies, followed by a Wendy's McTriple, Wendy's Triple Classic, and then decide you're going to take a bird scooter or a San Francisco rickshaw or a Spirit Airlines flight? First of all, Spirit Airlines, there's no fucking way you're getting through that door. I can't. If you have a 96-inch waist and you think that you're all of a sudden going to get through the front of that plane, first of all, that plane's kicking you off. That saying, sir, miss, Jupiter, get your fat fucking ass off the plane, otherwise we can't take off. There is a weight limit, and there's also weight limits to elevators. And quite frankly, if I get in an elevator and two abnormally large hoes get into that elevator, I'm getting off because elevators have weight limits. And I don't want to die by your large fry. I don't want to be turning into Jell-O as we fall 36 floors to our death because you decided you wanted to have a little extra birthday cake before you went and saw your friends in the penthouse and caused my death as a result of your overeating. I don't care if you look at me funny. I'm literally going to say, I'm going to be standing there and then I'm going to watch the doors, the gates of hell open as I see these two mancubuses standing there about ready to try to Vaseline their way into this elevator. I'm literally going to go, stop right there. I'm getting out. The gateway to death is all yours. You have fun. I will take the stairs because I don't want to stand next to your mango/fart smelling spandex. It's not going to work for me. I don't want to be in there. If you look at me as discriminatory, I absolutely will discriminate against your fat ass when it puts my life in potential danger. This is something I don't plan on enjoying. That I'm not going to do it. This is like when I walk into a grocery store and the cash register people don't speak English, but then again, they don't need to. But then when you mix that with the bagging people who are mildly autistic, and it gets a little uncomfortable, it's like, you know what? These are uncomfortable situations for me, and I'm either going to try to get in and out as quickly as possible, or I'm just not in the mood, and I'm not going to go. Does that make it discrimination? I don't know. But ultimately, I'm not picking your fat ass at the airport up in my in my four-wheel drive SUV or my two-door Mustang or in a Hummer H2 or a fucking Ford F-350 dually diesel Lariat with a 9-foot bed in the back. Maybe if I did have an F-350, I would pick you up in a lift, but I would put you in the truck bed. And that is the only way your fat ass is getting from the Krispy Kreme is to the Cheesecake Factory. That is my terms and conditions. If you don't like it, you can fire me, but I don't care at all. Speaking of, let's get back to the article. She asked the driver what she was doing. Under the law, refusing, blah, blah, blah. The driver claimed that Blanding was too big to fit into the back seat of his vehicle and that his tires could not support her weight. That is technically true. So basically, if you have a tire that's 3, it's designed to handle this much pressure per square inch in this certain section. And all of a sudden, big fatty boom batty gets in the back there, and she's now put that particular tire under such immense pressure that it is liable to explode. Also, the tire can only handle so much weight. The rim can only hold so much weight as well. And I think it is also on the driver to decide whether or not he wants to risk his vehicle that he's using for business purposes only, and whether or not it can actually support you getting in there. So, if he doesn't want to pick your fat ass up, I don't blame him. Now, on to the subject. Continuing with the subject matter, the Lyft driver also said that he had this problem in the past and that the overweight people needed to start ordering Lyft XLs. Lyft XLs or Uber XLs, basically just bigger vehicles like Chevy Suburbans or something like that. Despite Blanding assuring the Lyft driver that she could fit in his back seat, he kept his doors locked and sped off. It's like a fucking scorpion saying it's not going to sting you. Yes, I pinch. Quote, refusing someone transportation based on their weight is not only illegal, but dangerous. What? I'm going to read that again. Refusing someone transportation based on their weight is not only illegal, but dangerous, said attorney Zach Runyon. Quote, imagine the consequences if Miss Blanding were unable to seek shelter after the driver left her stranded. This could have ended even worse than it did. This just sounds like some garbage conjecture that really just doesn't go anywhere. Oh, look at that. State of Michigan, Circuit Court and County of Wayne. Is there a lot of fatties in Detroit? Dejua Blanding plaintiff, blah, blah, blah. John Doe individually. She's suing the Lyft driver himself? Jesus Christ. She's not going to get much if he's working for freaking Lyft. Jesus, what are you expecting out of him? What's this? I don't care about that shit. Let's see. That's the whole... Okay. So, yeah, this was as of February 2nd. But according to Google's AI, as of February 2025, Dank Demos, a Detroit rapper who sued Lyft after being denied a ride, lost her lawsuit. Now, this is according to Google's AI software, but there's only a little bit of information. Obviously, she was on the Breakfast Club, and you saw that they had to ultimately pull up like a huge fucking banquet table for her to sit on. But I think she may have lost that lawsuit if there was no merit behind it. obviously you have to prove that there's discrimination. Now, what is discrimination? Well, let's look at it this way. This person made a judgment call, saw the weight of this person, and decided based on what they saw that the vehicle this is their vehicle. This is their vehicle. They paid for it, they put the gas in it, and they want it to keep running. They decided that this person was going to cause damage to their vehicle and chose not to let this person into their car. And you know what? I'm fine with that. Is that technically you judged a person, you denied a person based not on their skin color, not on their race, color, or creed, but on their weight. Their choice. You don't choose to be black. You don't choose to be gay. There are some people who just can't have options. They don't have options and they just decide to be gay because obviously the opposite sex has something to do with them because they're absolutely disgusting to look at and talk to. But I mean, for the most part, yeah, you don't. I don't think you can't choose your gender, can't choose your fucking your freaking orientation, can't choose a lot of things. You can choose your weight though. Definitely can choose your weight. You can choose to weigh, if you're 6 foot like me, 175, you can choose that. I can also choose to weigh 270 pounds and just eat fucking Funyuns all day. I can choose that. But if I show up like that, some of my good fortunes. My chair could choose to break. My fiance could choose to leave. The Lyft driver could choose to fucking leave me where I stand. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's your own damn fault that you're a fat, disgusting piece of shit. And apparently your music tracks, this Detroit rapper, apparently this shit ain't selling. So I'm sorry that you're not being able, you can't, get a hit track out there because Little Yahtzee or whatever blew over you in the charts. But don't blame the Lyft driver who's just trying to make a buck in Detroit, a town that has lost its way a long, long time ago. My advice to you, if you want to get where you're going, take a bike, not a Lyft. Where is this article monitor here? Let's close that shit out. All right, what else do we have for topics here? We're already a solid 22 minutes into this podcast. Talked about the market movement, not real, and then I said that basically just to recap that I haven't sold any of my positions. I have about 12 to 15 of them. I would like to eventually add a little bit more onto it, but right now I'm saving money for other ventures for the next couple of months. Talked about the fat bitch, what's her name, fucking Dank Armpits, who might have lost that Lyft lawsuit, but I'm not really sure. The internet's kind of weird, says a lot of crazy things. Plane crashes everywhere. But here's the thing, the ones like Malaysian Airlines, or the one that flew over Russia and randomly disappeared, or one from the Middle East, or one in Africa. Those are the ones that they don't concern me all too much. First of all, I don't fly to Asia, ever. I don't have any plans to go to Europe anytime soon. And I don't fly small planes very often, and I also don't like regional planes at all either. There was that one that flipped upside down, and apparently nobody died. But I guess from what I understand, each person that was upside down in that plane got $2 million. Shit, just if I get dude, flip me like a fucking pancake. I will happily slide across the runway and lose my eyebrows for a few days because there's a little bit of burning jet fuel. If that means I'm going to have $2 million in the bank before taxes, what would I do with $2 million in the bank before taxes? $2 million in the bank before taxes would probably be about a 40% payout. So 40% of that would be probably clear about $1.2 million. $1.2 million gives me a $200,000 down payment towards a house of my choosing wherever I wanted. Or I can do $300,000 and definitely have a house of my choosing anywhere I want with a low mortgage payment. Probably get an extra car, so that would give me about 3 cars. I'm working on a 3rd car right now. But ultimately, give me 3-4 cars, including a nicer sports car. And then I would immediately be able to put, most of my stuff into some retirement account, a little bit of stocks here, and then have about a few $100,000 basically just earning like 3 or 4% interest. And then just kind of sit back and just enjoy the year and then reassess next year. So I'd be all set with that $1.2 million. I'd have my house, I'd have my cars, I'd have my life, my loves. and we'd be good. And I'd probably just, work for maybe a few more years and then see what happens. But, yeah, flip me over. Flip me over. Just let me know ahead of time. Hey, we're going to, and you guys are going to, and I'll be like, cool, you do that. I don't know what's going on. There was a couple planes that almost collided the other day. There was the helicopter situation in D.C. where all of a sudden the helicopter was flying way too high. There's regulatory heights when you're near an airport. Strict guidelines of what you should be flying at. Because obviously, if you're flying a helicopter and you're near an airport, you need to be paying attention to what you're doing. Generally, planes landing and taking off have the number one top priority right of way. Period. They do. Okay? So, yeah, there's that. So, obviously, the person who flipped the plane upside down, and that's a regional. Everybody says it's Delta. Yeah, Delta Regional. I think it's one of those connecting regional jets. I don't know if it was necessarily Delta. Even if it was. Those regional planes, I don't like flying those fucking things. I would much rather take JetBlue. JetBlue don't really crash. Matter of fact, Spirit Airlines doesn't really crash either. I've never seen one of those big yellow buses upside down or in a river or into a side of a building. I guess apparently they hire some pretty badass pilots, some prison guard type pilots, because some crazy shit, crazy fucking people who fly Spirit Airlines. So I guess they hire some real rough and tumble pilots, if you know what I'm saying. So I guess that's why you never see them on the news unless there's a fight in their terminal. So there is that to consider. I'm not really sure. I'm assuming it might be some type of DEI hire. Ultimately, when it comes to pilots, you want somebody who knows how to fly a plane. And that their top priority is, I miss the old pilots who were just crushing ass and snorting coke. Those people got you where you needed to go. Except for a couple of them who had bombs go off. But besides them, those are irrelevant. But also, planes in general have gotten a lot safer, with the exception of the 737 MAX. That one didn't do too well. But, except for that one. But planes are generally safer. Their maintenance is crazy. I know I see crazy shit on Instagram with the speed tape and things like that, but ultimately planes are pretty safe. But the pilots make all the difference. Even if a plane loses an engine, or there's a fire in one of the engines, there's a fire on the wing, or this, that, and the other thing. There's a lot of things that can happen before the shit truly hits the fan. You saw Sully about 15 years ago, where he landed the fucking plane in the river. It's amazing what they can do to save these planes. The plane flipped over when it landed on the runway. Nobody died. That's the thing. The plane was upside down. Nobody died. So it really is a matter of what is causing these upticks in airline incidents. We have a lot of air traffic. Obviously, do we need to up the standards? These things happen every once in a while. We need to up the standards of people being trained. Are they actually the best pilots for the job? You have to have the best staff. I know that there's been some DEI inquiries, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Hey, we got to hire more women or transgender pilots. It's like, we just need to hire the best people, because I generally don't enjoy flying. I am a little picky when it comes to flying. With my routes, with my airlines that I choose, because ultimately I don't want to die. I have a few more years that I want to enjoy my life, and I'd like to do that without potentially dying. So if we could maybe do that, maybe we can go that route. That would be great. All I know is that there's been some investigation into essentially, are actually the best pilots being hired? Have they been given proper training? Can we afford to get, airline prices have gone up significantly. I just dropped, what was it? Actually, the last one I did wasn't too bad. I got some flights for, but then again, still, the flight prices weren't too bad. But rental prices, like Airbnb, stuff like that shit's expensive. So it's not exactly where I'm going is expensive. How I'm getting there isn't too bad, but I'll pay a little bit more if it means I'm going to land safely, and I don't carry a lot of baggage. I also don't bring that fat bitch who's a Detroit rapper with me either. I'm a pretty lean guy, so I can fit into most seats. But I don't carry, like, I have carry-on luggage, so my stuff is pretty lean. I have a nice little carry-on bag. All my stuff fits in there, and then I generally have like a laptop bag, and that I get away with. And I'm also a lean guy. I clean up when I go to the airport. I mean, I wear like a sport jacket, dress shoes, so I look good. And I also have TSA pre-check, so I try to streamline my traveling, and I enjoy looking decent when I go through the airport. I'm not a sweatpants and flip-flops passenger. Never have been. Never will be. It is not something I like to do. I don't look like I'm always just going to and fro Hawaii. It's not my style. I like to have a nice little sport jacket on. It keeps me warm when I'm on the plane. It makes me look good. It's easy to throw on. I got 8 fucking sport coats, for God's sake, so it's not hard. I have comfortable dress shoes or loafers that you can rock when you're on the plane. They're not uncomfortable. They slip on. They slip off. So I wear breathable pants. It's not difficult for me. In my opinion, it's not difficult for anybody to look that good when they're flying about. Nice little polo, maybe a sport jacket. It can be like that. I don't like it when I see some girl with fucking Powerpuff Girl fleece, pajama bottoms and a tank top, with some half-ass bra who's always on the phone. But not only on the phone in the terminal, but on speakerphone. I mean, it's like, who allowed you to fly? Why is that public decorum allowed? It's annoying. That's annoying. That's when I get a little spite. It's like, but here's the thing: you can't act out in an airport. You can't act out in an airport in any way, shape, or form, because TSA ain't gonna tolerate it. Airport police ain't gonna tolerate it. But it's like, you can't confront you. Do you want to confront them personally? No, you can't, because then you all of a sudden become the culprit as well, especially when you're on the plane. It's another thing. It's like when you're. Let me think about this. If you're on a plane, or if you're in a terminal, and somebody's being a dink, you can't confront them. You just have to accept that. You cannot be the hero in this scenario. You can't do it. Unless Muhammad Dul Ajab is literally taking a box cutter to kill 2 pilots. You cannot get involved with any other situation and be a hero or be confrontational on an airline or in the terminal of the airline. You cannot do it. You point it out to the people who are at the desk, to the TSI or the security that's going by, to the person at the gate, to the flight attendants inside the plane, to the pilot in the plane. You don't get involved. It's just, those are the rules. You're not going to be a hero. You point it out and you say, hey, this person's being annoying. I didn't know if you can go and tell them to knock it off. Or, hey, this person, I'm not sure what's up with them if you want to check them out. That's it. That's pretty much it when you have a plane. Now, ultimately, when it comes to these people who are just absolutely obnoxious in their Powerpuff Girl pajamas or Hello Kitty fucking pajamas or whatever, pick a power puffy pitty kitty titty pajamas. I just don't want them on the plane because I don't want them to cause a disruption to the point where we have to turn the fucking plane around or ground it early and then make my day a living hell because now I got to figure out what connection I'm going to take now because you've pretty much ruined what my plan was for the day. Please, anybody in general, whoever you are, I don't care. Do me a favor. Don't ruin my daily plans. None of you. Don't ruin my daily plans. Don't get in my way. Don't try to box me out when I'm on the highway or on the road. Please don't travel at 20 to 25 miles per hour. Please stay in the right lane. Please do all these things because I don't have time for your slow, slightly autistic way of living. It's not for me. I'm not for you, but please don't be in my way. Please don't get on my airline, okay? I want you to stay away from me, whoever you are. I'm calling out to the universe. If you could just do me a favor, don't be in front of me when I'm driving. Don't be at my restaurant when I'm eating. Don't be on my plane when I'm flying. And don't be in this world when I'm living. Just do me a favor and, I don't know, kill yourself. I just go away. Just go away forever. If you could do me at least that favor, and I would be so highly appreciative. You don't even know. If you could just do me a favor and just find that bridge and remove yourself from traffic, I would be so grateful for you on so many factors. I might even write a song about you, and I'll call it Betty Two Bridges, about how you decided you didn't know which bridge to pick, but ultimately I don't know. I'm going down the rabbit hole here, but ultimately, just don't be on my airline. Don't be in my restaurant with your 2 screaming kids. Oh, that's another thing. For the love of fucking Christ, if you have good kids, great for you. Should you socialize your kids? Absolutely. But if your kids are screamers or annoying, please do not bring them to a restaurant that I every once in a while decide to frequent. Or if your kids I don't care if your kids are 5 years old or 25 years old and they still live with you. Please don't if they are annoying and I can hear them talking or breathing, please don't bring them to my restaurant. Please don't put them on my plane. Thank God the jet engines. Jet engines are louder than your annoying kids. But at a restaurant, I can hear them talking. And they need to stop talking or breathing. I don't care which one of the two. Whatever gets me to the ultimately stop talking would be fine with me. But ultimately, these plane crashes, shitty people in coach, shitty people in first class, shitty people flying the plane, shitty people maintaining the plane. I don't know if they're DEI hires, but ultimately, I don't know what's causing all these plane crashes. I'm assuming that this has something to do with DEI, or maybe because of that fat rapper chick who decided she wanted to take Lyft Airways and got approved. I don't know. This is not something for me to decipher. But ultimately, if I see annoying people on an elevator, in a restaurant, on a plane, I'm getting off. I'm removing myself from the situation because you know what? I'm going to cut my losses because sometimes there's just a better way of doing things. I'm going to move on to, might be the last topic this podcast. I understand that there is a lot of stuff out there that seems conspiratorial. Now, when it comes to conspiracy theories, I mentioned this on last week's podcast about blaming the Jews. You need to stop doing that. That stuff has to stop. Just stop doing that, okay? So we're going to move on from that. If we can all agree that we're going to stop blaming Jews for everything, we can continue forward in this conversation. So let's move on from there, all right? And let's move on to the next ones. What conspiracy theories are out there? There's the JFK assassination. JFK assassination. Now, the reason we're asking questions is because there are still redacted files in classified documents that may or may not dictate whether or not the actual truth was told 50 years ago. This is why we're curious. I'm not going to talk about flat Earth, space is fake, or the Jewish conspiracy. I'm not into that. That stuff isn't. You're too far down the map for me. You're too far gone for me on this stuff. We can talk about the stuff that really is at play here. We can talk about the lab leak in China because there's evidence to support that. All right? We can talk about the JFK assassination conspiracy because there's evidence circumstantial and unreleased documentation to support that. All right? There truly is. I don't have it. Secret weapons projects. The government has always had secret weapons. All right? The F-117 stealth fighter. That was a secret project. The Northrop B-2 Spirit. That was a secret project. The railgun. That was a secret project. There's been a lot of secret projects when it comes to military or anything else. The nuclear weapons. That was a secret project. We've always had secret projects. I know that maybe we're working on drone technology or laser technology or I don't know. Pick another weapon. Direct energy weapons. I don't know. I know that we're always working on new shit. There's a lot of money to support that. But when it comes to conspiracies, it's like, all right, we need to, if you're going to talk to somebody about a conspiracy or a thing that that the evidence has not been released on. You need to start slow with people. If you just decide to start piling on tons of conspiracies, the brain like the Matrix, the movie The Matrix, the mind rejects it because it's too much information for the brain to process all at once. And then all of a sudden, your reality no longer has any value. Now, for some people, especially if they weigh 4,000 pounds and then they get denied by a Lyft or Uber driver, maybe their reality definitely needs to be checked. But for somebody like me or somebody who's just starting out trying to understand, hey, was this not made in a lab? Was there a killer on the grassy knoll that wiped out Kennedy? What about secret drone projects? Okay, people become curious. That curiosity cannot be denied. Obviously, the governments do sketchy shit. People do sketchy shit. That is just the way of life. I do sketchy shit. That's the truth. But you have to deal it out in small doses. It's like you hear a song for the first time. You go, I like that song. Okay, well, you start with that song. Don't go right into the deep cuts. Let the person get into something that's maybe a little catchier, something that is easy to digest. And you'd be like, oh, that song isn't too bad. And then they hear it again and go, I really like that song. What else did this band have? What else did this group got? Well, they got this song too that they play. Actually, it was a couple of years ago. It's like, oh, I remember that song. That song was pretty good too. Well, that's two songs that I like from this band. What else do they got? Well, they got this album that they just dropped. Oh, okay. Well, here's their older stuff. Maybe you're, oh yeah, I like that stuff. And they start to get into it a little bit more. And then they start getting into, oh, that deep cut. I like that song. They don't play that on the radio though. It's like, okay, now there's momentum. Now you're getting it. It's not. That's how you get people to start reading a little bit, or watching videos, or understanding that there's a little more to something. Is by you just give them a little bit, a little taste, and that will allow them to think with a bit of a different perspective. You can't just throw it on them all at once. And this doesn't just go for conspiracies. This goes for politics. This goes for culinary. This goes for travel. This goes for upbringing. This goes for just daily habits in general. Is introducing little things at a time. The brain is more likely to accept these little things at a time. Feeding things to the brain in small doses allows for this information and this curiosity to take hold. But if you throw it all at somebody all at once, it's like after the first date saying, I love you. I wish I could marry you. And it's like, park the brakes. Park the brakes. It's one thing if you say it right off the bat. It's another thing if she says, cool, let's get married right now. That means you might be clingy, but she's a psycho. So these a little bit of doses at a time are ultimately how you want to approach things. So that's what I would say. Now, I have some conspiracy theories that I'm interested in. Well, ultimately, they're not conspiracy theories. These are things that have evidence to them. For example, I need a sip of water before I close out this podcast. But I do want to let you know things that I'm curious about. All right. So, number one, in no particular order, but we'll just sound them out. Number one, Jeffrey Epstein. Did he kill himself? No, I don't think he did. I think he was hung. I think he was hung. I don't know if he belonged to an intelligence organization or if he was just a trafficker. I don't know. I don't know anything about that situation. There's been some accusations, but ultimately, obviously, he was a major factor in some very naughty things. And he influenced a lot of people, a lot of powerful people. And now they maybe are a little scared, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, he's in a church. He's in a prison in New York, and the camera stopped working, and the next thing you know, he's dead. I have questions. And the fact that the article died on the Vine, another thing. And then there's a huge list of people that did some very dirty things, and they haven't been released yet. That's called suspicion. Curiosity turns into suspicion. So instead of curious about answers, you demand answers. Another one. Once again, John F. Kennedy. Not only was John F. Kennedy assassinated, but his brother, Robert F. Kennedy. Was it Robert F. Kennedy? Either way, he was assassinated. Okay? Both dead. Killing one guy is one thing, but killing another family member not too long after, suspicious. Why is that? What was JFK planning to do? I know he was talking about secret societies shortly before he was killed. Also, there's questions around the autopsy, questions about what happened that day in Texas. There's unreleased documentation regarding the JFK assassination. The fact that the assassin was assassinated just at random. So that leaves questions. There's evidence, possible evidence supporting secondary killers or government ties or mob ties. These are things that should be discussed. Why has it been cooped up for so many years? So these are things I have concerns about. What other things do I have that were for a while seemed kooky, conspiratorial, or racist? How about the Wuhan lab in China, the Wuhan Institute of Virology, that was working on coronaviruses? There's evidence to support that. That's in itself is pretty goddamn convenient. I had questions about that. They've been pretty much confirmed that this was a lab leak. Lab leak. Okay. That is another thing that was cooped up for so damn long, and now all of a sudden, oh yeah, that's, the government is basically said, yeah, that's probably what happened. That's probably what happened. These are concerns of mine. Now, another one was that social media was being influenced by the federal government or by corporations, larger corporations that had, what do you call it? Advertising ties. Well, that was speculation in the beginning. That was conspiracy as well. That social media companies were censoring certain people because they didn't like what they said, or it hurt their bottom dollar, or whatever. That was confirmed too. That was confirmed by Mark Zuckerberg himself. It was confirmed by Elon Musk in Twitter and the people who got the Twitter files, Matt Taibbi, Michael Schellenberger. It was confirmed that government interference was taking place at Facebook and at Twitter. Not a conspiracy. Confirmed. These are all things that I have questions about. I do not have, but here's the things I do not have concerns about. An ice wall down in Antarctica. I don't believe in it. Space is fake. I don't believe in it. The Earth is flat. I'm not buying it. I'm sorry. This is when you start to lose me. This is the obvious shit that, even if it had some sort of truth to it, we're just too far down the rabbit hole for my brain to even process that, because I'm ultimately going to reject your whole meal. Like I said, you got to start slow. You got to grease it up first before you jam it in my ass. You got to go slow with this whole situation. You got to start off with little things. And I already have enough things on my mind that make me want to distrust society as You can't make me distrust it anymore. Otherwise, my mind is going to reject all of it. You got to go slow. I can't do math. I can't do coordinates. I can't do doom and gloom. I know that there's always going to be, I always know that society is always one bad decision away from certain doom. It could be an asteroid. It could be a coup. It could be a war. Society will always be, has always been, and will continue to be one step away from ultimate doom and disaster. But I have to, as I've said before, I said this 3 years ago when I was sitting in the sandbox by Hampton, New Hampshire, in my little house there, about ultimately I have to wake up every day assuming that we're going to be okay, that I'm going to be okay, and that these conspiracy theories are not going to destroy the effort that I've put into that day, the day before, and the day before it. That I'm going to wake up tomorrow, my alarm's going to go off, my dog's going to be okay, I'm going to be hungry and thirsty, and I'm going to be able to just proceed like normal without, attack helicopters flying over my head, blowing people up, or aliens coming out of the pavement and zapping people into dust, or all of a sudden the vortex or the vertex or the gravitational pull all of a sudden fails. The next thing you know, we get flipped upside down and thrown into space, or that an asteroid's going to kill us. So I have to assume that we're going to get through the day. You have to have a little faith that you're going to make it through one more day. And that gives you one more chance to do things right. I know that life is short, or it could be even shorter if you're not paying attention, or apparently if you're a 1,000-pound black rapper from Detroit who can't get a Lyft driver. You have to assume that you're going to be okay. You're going to have to be. That's the only way you're going to be able to get through this day, is that you know you're going to have a decent meal, you're going to meet some decent people, you're going to work hard, and that you're going to possibly get some decent sleep. If you can do that, you could be okay. And maybe, just maybe, if you're not freaking out over everything every single day, you might live 80, 90 years and have a fairly decent life and not have to work up all the way to your death, and just calmly, with a little bit of less emotion, get through it all and look good doing it. I hope, because the conspiracy that everything's a conspiracy is when you start to lose me. Even if we are living in a simulation, tell me how to get out of it. You haven't provided me that information. So I don't know what to do about it other than stare at this computer that may not be real, drinking this seltzer that might actually not exist, it might not be here, holding this pen and paper that I guess is just a figment of my imagination. I don't know what else to tell you other than I have to keep moving with my day, because I believe, at least in my own little mind, that there are people who depend on me. And that I depend on me. And then I need to make something of myself in this sort of simulated flat earth COVID-denying world, that I have to make it in today's simulation, because I guess this is how it's supposed to work. So allow me to do that, but give me little... It's like if you get a box of chocolates, do you eat the whole thing and get a huge stomachache, or do you maybe have one or two a day? Here's a little bit of information, something for you to consider when you go to do this, that, or the other thing. If you do that, it will get digested much easier. And there's my take on conspiracy theories. A lot of them are true. A lot of them are true. But you have to understand, you can't take it all in at once. You can find me on Instagram at @positive_sarcasm. I hope any of that made sense to you. But ultimately, if you weigh 600 pounds, you can't get in a lift. I'm sorry. You can't get in a Lyft, you can't get in an Uber, you can't get in a New York taxi, you can't get in a rickshaw, you can't take an electric bike, you can't take an electric scooter. Take the bus, or take the treadmill. Instagram at @positive_sarcasm. You can email me directly through my website, positivesarcasm.com. Go to the contact page, you can email me there, or just email me directly, positivesarcasm@outlook.com. If you have questions of any of my topics, feel free to comment or whatever. Here we go. Another week. We're back at it. Hopefully some more updates to come about the logistics of the future of the Spare Parts Studio. But for now, we're just cruising to a nice soft stop. I had Malbec wine for the first time in a long time. Argentinian 2023. Actually wasn't bad. I think I'm going to grab some more and throw it in the rack and let it age for a few years before I take another stab at it. I still got a few open ports to put things in. But, has been... yeah, there you go. So if you have questions or comments, you can go ahead and hit me up through my website. But we're good. Anyways, thank you for listening, watching, subscribing. And we'll catch up with you soon. Probably next week. What do you think about that? Consistency. It's the key. Recorded here from the Spare Parts Studio for entertainment purposes only, alongside New Hampshire's beautiful seacoast. This has been a Positive Sarcasm presentation.